everybody, and welcome to today's lesson, CSS Text Effects. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at some of the effects that we can add to our text. And the ones that we are going to be looking at include the text overflow, which specifies how content that overflow should be displayed to the user. We are also going to be looking at the word wrap. Allows words that are long to be broken and wrapped onto the next line. We're going to be looking at that also. And then we're going to be looking at the word break, which determines where lines break and can occur. And then finally, we're going to be looking at the writing mode, how text is presented, such as do you want the text to be horizontal or vertical? We're going to be looking at all of these. So let's go into the code section and start. Okay, guys, so this is a sample HTML that I have here, which has an H2, which just says text overflow example with clip, right? And this paragraph has lorem, which is too big. I'm going to create the width of this P to be less than the text, and then we are going to see how the text is going to look like. The same with this one, and we are going to look at the two, right? So right now we are going to look at two types of uh, of overflow, and the first is the clip, right? So we're going to look at how we can clip this. First of all, let me refresh this so we can see how this looks like. And we're going to look at the clip first. So in the style section, I'm going to have my paragraph dot clip class, and then we are going to put some styling into this. So let's do it. White space. I'm going to set this to no wrap. Good. And then I'm going to set the width. Nope, the width. I'm going to set this to 200 pixels. And then I'm going to set a border so we can see it more clearly. 1 pixel, solid, uh, gray maybe. Okay. And then I'm going to have my overflow set to hidden. And then I'm going to say my text overflow. I'm going to set that. We can see the values that we have, the clip ellipsis, inherit unset, right? We're going to set it to the clip, right? So now, if I refresh this now, you can see that it clips the text, right? It's going to clip the text right there. So just to display to you again, so this overflow hidden, and we talked about it in previous lessons, it's saying that every overflow content should be hidden. So if I refresh this, I'm not going to see any difference, right? So it's still, you don't see because this overflow is hidden, just says that whatever content is overflows from this container, just hide it. So we are not going to see it, right? But this text overflow tells us how to actually display, show how that overflow content to the user. So this first clip just tells us that we want you to clip it off, just hide it. That's the default, right? So still nothing happens. So that's why we don't see anything. We are going to do the same again with this content right here, which is the ellipsis, and then we're going to compare the difference. So let's do that. We have our P, our dot ellipsis, right? And then here we are going to do the same thing, white space should be, don't want it to wrap. And then we are going to have a width same width, set to 200 pixels, and I'm going to have a border set to 1 pixel, solid gray. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my overflow set to hidden, so it's going to hide it anyways. But then to the user, we want to display something, right? So we're going to use the text overflow, and this time I'm going to say ellipsis. So when I refresh this, you see the ellipsis signal right here. So you have your 3 dots. So that is the difference between using the clip and the ellipsis. But we still cannot see the content. So we can, if you want, you can have a hover pseudo class that would allow you to see the content of this. So I'm going to do that to the second one. I'm just going to say, and I have my dot ellipsis, and then I'm going to add my pseudo class hover, and I'm going to say, I want to set the overflow now to visible. So now show me the content, right? So when I refresh this and I hover over this, I don't see anything. But when I hover over this, now you can see the rest of the content. So you can play around with this. You can decide to change the size of the container, the div, so it's properly centered inside. So yes, so that is how you can play around with this. So next, let's look at the word wrap. Good. So let's create. I'm just going to copy this. So we have a different div to work with. I'm going to use word wrap. And then I'm going to call it wrap. Then what I'm going to do is just type in a bunch of, or maybe I could still use the lorem. It's okay, right? But I'm going to create a word which is very long and see what happens to it. Let's say this is, let's say this is a word that is very, very long. I imagine it's a word though. Okay, and this is just a test, right? So if I refresh this, you see this word is very long, right? Good. So I'm going to create this and I'm going to style it. I'm going to say this is called wrap.wrap, not wap, wrap. Okay, and I'm going to style it. I'm going to have a width and I'm going to set this to 11 and I'm going to set a border on this 1 pixel, solid pink. Okay. And then I'm gonna have, and let's do this first. I'm gonna refresh this. So you see that the word did not break. It just went across the border, right? But if I wanted it to break the word, I'm gonna use the word break. And then I'm gonna say break word because I wanted to break this word. So now when I refresh this, you can see that it broke the word. Next, we are going to be looking at the word break property, right? And so this break property actually it's used to signify where to break the word. So we have the word wrap, that you can set it to break word if you wanted to break a long word. Or you can use the word break property and then you can specify if to break the word or to break at or not to do it, right? So let's look at an example of this. I'm going to create same thing. I'm going to create, so I have this documented. Let's create the word break. change this to break. I'm gonna call this break. And then I'm going to leave this as is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another break. I'm going to call this break1 so I can have another class. And then I'm going to create another one called class2. Yeah, break2, sorry. So I have break1 and then I have break2, right? So if I just refresh this, you see that I have two of this together. Good. So I want us to create the class. I have my dot break1. Here I'm going to first say I need a width of 150 pixels. And I'm going to set a border for this. 1 pixel solid blue. Okay, great. So when I just refresh this, I have this, right? I have this. So this long word kind of goes out of our border, right? So I'm going to use word break, and it has break all and keep all. So I'm going to say keep all, right? So it's going to try to keep all the word. So what I'm going to do is I am going to try and create something different. I'm going to try to edit this word so I can use it, right? So this is my long word. I'm going to just create a word called this hyphen is hyphen a good example, right? Okay, so let me refresh this again. Good. This is a good example for everybody involved. Okay, so when I refresh it, it tries to keep all the words, right? So you can see that this is a good, first of all, and just to show you this, I'm gonna uncomment this out and show you what this does. Yep. So when you use keep all, it tries to keep all the words, right? So it does not break the words, right? It keeps the word as a whole word. So if the word is too long, it shifts the word down, right? So you can see that all the words are actual words, right? We are going to do an example with break all, and you're going to see that it's not going to consider wherever it needs to break, it's just going to break. So the words are not kept whole. They can break the words at any point. So word break has two levels, keep all and break all. And the second one, which you're going to look at now, is that break two. And in here, we're going to just set the same style, 150 pixel border, 1 pixel solid blue. And I'm going to say word break. I'm going to say break all, right? So now when I refresh this, it is break all. So if you look at this, for example, this word, uh, IDP, whichever it is, break here, right? It's supposed to be the whole thing, but you can see that it broke. And then you can see this EL, everything is breaking, right? So the words are not pushing down. This A broke, and then the rest of the word came down. So it's not considerate of the whole word. The line definitely breaks at any character at all. right? So that is the difference, right? So uh, we can look at this and say that the two levels or the two values for word break is break all and keep all. So if you want to keep your words whole, use keep all. If you don't mind and you want to break your words, use break all. Thank you. And you can see that's the example that we have. Yeah, finally, the writing mode just specifies whether lines are horizontal or vertical. And so we can take a look at how that is achieved. So for example, and I totally understand if let's use one of these, right? So I can just say, I want to set the writing mode of this first one, break one. Let's set the writing mode, and I know it's gonna look extremely horizontal, right? So we're going to set it horizontal. And when I refresh this, sorry, instead of doing that, just because I want to document this, I'm going to create another H2 and say writing mode. And then I have my P, which we're going to use. This is an example of writing mode. Okay. And then I'm going to have a class for this. I'm just going to say WR. Okay. So now when I come to the styling, I have my dot .wr, and then I can set the writing mode, and maybe before then, I can just refresh it. I can set the writing mode. I'm going to set this to horizontal, right? So you can see that it is already horizontal. Good. And then if I wanted it to be vertical, I can just set this to vertical. Okay. And so if I refresh this, you see that it is vertical, right? So you can set it whichever way you want, horizontal, vertical. You can use all of these to set your writing mode. So that is the last thing that we are going to look at in this lesson. Thank you guys for watching, and please practice, and see you in the next lesson.